Hello there everybody, this is Krista and welcome back to Yuletide Tarot, and today it's beginning to look a lot like Christmas. It is Christmas decorating day here. I've decided. So with that, of course, I'm gonna be shifting around some of the seasonal decks I'm working with. Because it's also, well, it's not very cold here today, but after today, we're like getting into the 30s, just seems like forever. So we've had a hard shift into winter this year, and I'm so ready for it. So I wanted to go through the decks I'm really excited to be working with this winter season that just feel like, I don't know, they fit this Yuletide vibe. So this is not all of my decks that feel wintry, but I'm specifically getting into that kind of cozy Yule energy. And this came about from when I was away with Andy. We were talking about how when you pair a lot of decks with this certain deck I'm about to show, it really brings out a Yule feel in decks that are not specifically Yule themed. And that one, so the first I have to show is the Yuletide Tales Lenormand. This is by Laura. I love this one. There is a new edition out right now that comes in like a beautiful box. I think the card stock is thicker, so I don't know. There's some new artwork. Basically taking this first edition she did and making it more luxe, really. But I love this version of the one I have. Look at the backs. How fun and just Christmassy does that feel? So this really is like, it just feels like my perfect Yule deck, and just so interestingly, pairing this deck and the artwork in it with so many other decks makes it feel like non-Yule Tarot and Oracle was made to be. Yule Tarot and Oracle. I just think this Lenormand is so good. It probably ends up being the one I use the most. I don't know if that's true, because I only really use this during the winter season. Doesn't matter. I'm like, well, maybe overall it's actually probably my possums, but anyway, I love this deck. I love Laura's artwork. I have a print that is out now of, did we already pass him? There he is. Krampus. Is my, oh wait, I've got two of these that I switch out. So fall, winter is, well, really more so like, once I hit November, I switch to Krampus. And then the rest of the year, once we get into that spring, is the Mushroom Man. But I love this artwork, and it makes everything feel 10 times cozier, but I love that it has that kind of bit of spooky Yuletime feel. Because if you really pay attention to the stories and folklore, it really is, a lot of it is spooky, which I love. So that's the first thing. The next couple, we're going to get out of the way the ones that are Yule themed. I've got two others. Starting with the Seasons of the Witch Yule, I still have my big mixed together Seasons of the Witch deck, so this is not, these are just the cards I kept out. If you didn't see, I made a video where I took the two fall Seasons of the Witch out now and the two winter decks and made a mega deck for kind of the liminal space that feels like a lot of November, but probably today I'm going to go through and separate them back out so that I can use the Yule one. This is one of my favorites. Look at that card. I love this deck. So always excited to be in a season of Seasons of the Witch that we have. So there's that one. Now this one is a new one. This next one, and it is the, ooh, I always forget what it is called, because I always am thinking Yuletide, but it's not. It's the, well, is it though? Is it the Yuletide? The Yuletide, whoa. Hold our horses. Okay, I'm gonna pause and I need to get the box and check. Okay. We are settled again. It's the Yuletide Tarot. I always think I'm doing it or saying something wrong because I end up calling it like the Yuletide Tales Tarot. Not the case. But hold on. We gotta take a moment for the bag, right? I was so excited about this one. So this is one, I think this actually came out this summer from Llewellyn. These are the backs. I am obsessed with them. And it is a tarot all themed around Yule. And I am extremely excited about it because I hadn't had a tarot deck themed around Yule. And it was something I was really just wanting because I love having my Halloween themed tarots. That's probably... Halloween and Yule are like my two holidays, you know? But it's so fun having all my Halloween tarots, and then it's like, well, gosh, I don't have a Yule one. And there's some indie ones that exist, but I was really excited when I saw this one because, I don't know, I love the Llewellyn box sets, first of all. But also for more, like, seasonally specific decks, I like going into that mass market area because, I don't know, I feel like I have a thing in my brain where if I'm spending a lot on a deck, like indie decks can be, you know, pricey, I want to have a wider span of use with it, where, you know, of course I could use a Yule Tarot whenever I wanted, but I know myself and I know it's pretty much going to be like end of November through Yule, and that's kind of it. But I am really impressed with this deck. I think it pulls on a lot of really cool folklore. I love how we get kind of into this magical side of Yule, but then also the everyday things that come with it. I just think it's really neat, and it's fun. Oh, I love this. I love the aces. Look at that candy cane. It's just really good. I'm excited to really get into it more. Look, I love that card. That's so good. Oh my gosh, the aces are just probably my favorite cards. How beautiful is that? So yes, if you have been wanting a Yule deck, I highly recommend. I think it's great. I love those backs. So that is the Yuletide Tarot. Okay, now the last bit more specific one I've got here is not a Yule deck, but it is a winter deck, and that is the Winterseer Animal Oracle. I got this one, actually probably a lot of these are going to show up in my recent deck acquisitions as well, but the last sale Llewellyn was having, I got this and the Yuletide Tarot. And this is one I've been looking at for years, but usually I'm thrown off by a lot of white space. It's just not something I typically enjoy. But I got the Hedge Witch Botanical, that's also by Ciolo Thompson, this past spring-summer, and I loved it. So, since I don't have many decks that are specifically winter-themed, especially, like, I liked this one since it's the Winterseer, so it's, like, all of winter. And I love a good animal deck. I was really excited to try this one this year. And so I haven't used this one yet. Because when it comes to my seasons, I try to stick to when they actually are, so that, you know, by the end of winter, I don't want to be looking at this deck being like, oh my gosh, I am just exhausted of this deck, like, I just don't even want to look at it anymore. I really try. Like, same thing with my Yule decks. I was in the mood to start using them like 2 weeks ago, but I was like, I know by the time Yule rolls around, I'm going to be sick of them if I do that, so let's not. But I love the keywords on here. I'm excited. I'm excited. And if I'm gonna have a deck with a lot of white space, I will say that an Oracle is easier for me to do that with, because I'll usually always pair it with something else that, I don't know. I don't really know what it is. I think it's that I'm not usually a white space person, but also not really a watercolor person. But I love the Hedge Witch Botanical, so I'm really excited to try this. That's the Winterseer Animal Oracle. Alright, so now we are getting into the decks that when I put them next to the Yuletide Tales Lenormand, they just suddenly became very cozy holiday. So that's what we've got going on. We're going to start with the Mouseboat Tarot. There's something about this deck that just, I don't know, it feels a little bit wintry to me. Every time I talk about this deck, I'm like, it feels like English countryside, which just, because the way I have experienced English countryside is always in like cozy mystery shows or cozy mystery books, so it's gonna have that cozy feel to me, and it makes me think of like even Pride and Prejudice for some reason. I don't know. That's where my brain goes. And something about mice too, I just think of them, especially with this setting, with all these houses and buildings, just makes me think of how they do unfortunately make themselves cozy in our homes in the winter, but I don't know. I think of it in this like cute way rather than sometimes the harm it can cause. So yeah, something about this one was really just called to me of like, oh, this is cozy winter, because it's also got a bit of a storybook feel to it. It just reminds me of books I find really cozy, like The Tale of Despero, or what is that book called? The Redwall books, but also, oh, the Miss Mantle Chronicles. That's what this deck makes me think of, all those kinds of books. So, really excited to have that one out. That is the Mouseboat Tarot. Now, speaking of cozy story, I've got two that really align with that kind of idea. The first being the Lord of the Rings Tarot, which I put in this cute Sunset Bow tarot bag I had, that I was keeping my Northern Animal Tarot in, but I put the version of that back in its box since I got the linen, because that's kind of my in-use deck. But good thing, because I just feel like this actually matches this deck better. But this is the Insight Editions Lord of the Rings Tarot, and I love this one. I think it is a pip deck, but I think it's just a really good one. They have a lot of decks coming out lately that's this kind of wood cut style art that I think is really fun. The other decks in this style are not fandoms, I know, but even so, I'm kind of like, well, I feel like they start to look a little similar because it must be all the same artist. But I'm sure that's definitely not the case if you know the fandom, which I don't, so that's where I'm coming from with that. But anyway, I think The Lord of the Rings naturally has a very cozy, wintry feel to it, because it's a fun fantasy story. And for me, fantasy is so much easier to get into this time of year. All through the winter is really, even when I do probably the majority of my reading, because I just find it easier. Look at that card. But as soon as I put this next to the Yuletide Tales, it suddenly became very like Christmassy. And I'm so excited about that. So I feel like this is going to be my wintertime pip deck. And it's just so good. Look at that. Ugh. I love this deck. Only thing I don't love is that the guidebook is, I think it's cool, but it's a huge fold-out paper, but it's supposed to be like where it's almost like a map. It's cool, but the practicality of it is not all there. But that is the Lord of the Rings Tarot. Now the other story type deck I've got here in this pile is the Jane Austen Tarot, right? Is it Jane Austen or is it or is it just Pride and Prejudice? I think it's Jane Austen. Okay, no, I'm not positive on that. Do I want to be positive on that? Kind of. Let's Google. I think maybe it's Jane Austen Tarot. Yes, this is the Jane Austen Tarot. Now, especially those kinds of classic stories also to me have a very cozy, wintry feel. And this deck is one that, I don't know, it's like with the colors, it almost seems like it should be springtime, and we've got all these flowers, but for some reason, it's the style of the art makes me feel more so like the flowers and such are part of tapestry, which is more of an indoor thing in my brain. I just relate this one way more to winter. I especially love this one in like January, February, I find. Something about it just really feels like that kind of year. Oh, look at these cards. This is another Pippish one. It's like, but it's a tarot deck reduced down to a playing card deck. It's interesting. It's an interesting deck to use, but I really just love it. I think it's got such a cozy feel, and I'm really excited to try using it out as like a Yule time deck, because I think it'll work in that way as well. I love the size of the cards too. They're like that oracle size. It's just so pretty. This is one of the first decks I ever owned. Actually, it's the second deck I ever bought. I had the Cat Tarot, and then I had the Jane Austen Tarot. For a very long time, that was the duo. Just for some reason. But I love this one. It's the Jane Austen Tarot. Look at the bags. Aren't they so pretty? Okay. Okay, so next we've got the Soulcats Tarot. I think Adam Ohler's artwork just also is so cozy to me. But something about these Soulcats, I think it's the color tone used in a lot of the cards, feels very suited to the winter time to me, where like Oak, Ash, and Thorn to me is very much fall. I will carry it into the winter, but it's very much fall. Then the Smoke, Ash, and Embers is spring, summer. This one is the one that slots into winter. And maybe it's just because it's cats, and I don't know. Cats are another cozy thing in my brain. But I love this deck. It's fantastic. One of my favorite pairings of all time is this with the Compendium of Witches Oracle, which is actually another one I could have pulled out, but I did not. That would be another good one for this time of year. But yeah, I don't know that I have much more to say about it. I just feel like it kind of in its own way makes a good Yule deck. And it's fantastic. It's a fantastic tarot. That's the Soulcats Tarot. Alright, next up, interestingly enough, got the Bohemian Gothic. Now this is one that I know definitely gets used by a lot of people as a Samhain deck, which, yes, like I totally see that, agree with that. But to me, it almost feels more so like it slots into the whole darker half of the year. Because I didn't, like, which first using this is the newest edition, so I've only had it for about a week now. I don't really perceive it as a vampire deck, per se. Which is how, I think, just how I've experienced it talked about. But where this one works for me is what I was talking about with the Lenormand, of bringing in that sort of like spooky element to Yule that I'm having a lot of fun learning about. More of like the folklore and the sort of like non-lightened version of some of these tales. I'm really enjoying that. I started really getting into that last year, and definitely know I'll be doing the same this year. But this also, what it makes me think of is the Christmas Carol, where I can totally see this as a Samhain deck, but then as soon as it shifted to, or as soon as it will shift to November, because again, I've only had this for about a week, I just think it's then going to take on this form of a Christmas Carol. I think it's got a bit of that Victorian era look to it, but it's spooky. I don't know, something about it. It's like reminding me of when Ebenezer Scrooge is visited. Why do I feel like there should be another like Ed on that? That's not the case at all. When he's visited by the different ghosts, like the ghost of Christmas past, present, Christmases to come. What, I can't think of the name. Ghost of Christmas to come or something. That whole scene, this is what this deck makes me think of. And that's where it is slotted in for me. I'm really excited about it, especially because, again, it's such a, obviously this deck is quite the investment. I'm excited that it's turning out where it really can shift. I think it's really going to shift tones well for me, where I end up using it the whole darker half of the year. I've just been so obsessed with this deck for the whole week. It's so good. It's so good, especially with the big guidebook. But that's the Bohemian Gothic Tarot. Alright, next up is the Pear Court Oracle by our own Danny Mystic. This is one that also, it's kind of similar to the Jane Austen one, and I love pairing these also, by the way. Pairing this deck with the Jane Austen, but where it's color-wise, like it works for me in the spring, but something about anything like Victorian or Regency era automatically has a coziness to me that it just slots into wintertime, especially with the backs being the pear tree court. It makes me think of the Partridge in the Pear Tree thing. You know the one? And so I haven't actually ever tried using this one as a Yuletime, wintertime deck because, like, the coloring to me, I'm like, well, I should use it in spring. But I really think it's going to work so well, and I'm so excited to have this one out. Because it's such a good one. The keywords on this deck are so good, and I love the artwork used for it. It just, everything about it I think is great. And I think hasn't gotten like a crazy amount of use from me, only because I'm like slotting it into specifically springtime, and I think it actually pairs better with things I have pulled out for the winter, so I'm really excited about this one. So, Pear Court Oracle. A great one. Alright, the next one I've got is the Endless Oracle by Eric Mail. Same creator as the Ink Witch Tarot, which is another one that comes out in the winter for me, but I don't have it pulled out quite yet because that one is really specifically like that deep winter of, like when we get into January and February, that's where that deck kind of comes in. So it's not out quite yet, but this Oracle I think is going to be really cool for this time of year. Again, I have not used it yet this time of year, but it undeniably, because of the blue tones and all of these stars in the sky that to me also function as snow, which is a feature of another deck I'm going to show. I really love that about it, where feels like a deck I can use in like summer nights where there's got this full sky of stars, but then I get into this time of year and I'm like, ooh, it's snow. It looks like snow. This is another really interesting deck. I haven't used it tons yet, but it's one that I'm like, I just feel like when it clicks for me, it's gonna click. And I'm really wondering, again, same with Pear Court, where I've never pulled it in this time of year, and maybe that's just what is needed, because I think it's gonna really be cool with that Yuletide Tarot too, bringing out those blue tones. But it's a really cool Oracle deck, and so that is the Endless Oracle. Alright, so since I already kind of teased that one, or the next one, with the dots in the sky, we'll just pull that one out. So that is the Intuitive Night Goddess Tarot. For some reason, since I got this one, I think I got this one this time last year, actually. Maybe 2 years ago. I don't quite remember. I know the dots in the sky are supposed to be stars, but since I got it, my brain registers it as snow. I can't change it. Like, to me, but they're in outer space. Listen, I know it's stars, but my visuals of it in my own brain cannot help but to be like, it's snow. So the Intuitive Night Goddess is one that always comes out in the winter time for me for that reason. I'll pull it out like other times of the year too, especially more so as like a moon deck. I'll do moon readings a lot with this, kind of nighttime readings. But when it's gonna come out like all day, every day is the winter time, because I'm like, it's snow. But also the darkness of the cards too, with the black backgrounds, feels very like darker half of the year as well. So I love this one. I think it's so fantastic. I love this one with Coastal Curiosities. It's the perfect pairing. Ooh, I kind of want to try this too with the Jane Austen deck. I think that would be an interesting trio, don't you think? So, that's the Intuitive Night Goddess Tarot. Alright, a few more going here. Next, we've got the White Hare Wisdom Oracle, which is, I also have this one out in the fall a lot, but like, look at the box, like, wintry. This is the pocket edition, which I love. I love having oracles this size, especially as of late. But this one really gets into that storybook, cozy kind of feel for me. So there's a lot of, like, you know, we get all the Sabbats in here, so it's not really just specifically a winter deck, but I think I like to lean into this cozy storybook feel more so in the winter. Or not even I think, like, I know that's the case. Look at that Yule card. So beautiful. So this time of year is when this deck shines for me. And actually, I should pair this with the Chrysalis Tarot. That's another one I could have for sure pulled out for this video, because I think the Chrysalis Tarot, while I love using it in the summer because of the colors, I think the general vibe of it would work for this time of year too. But we do get a lot of wintry cards, so I just love this one. I think it's so fun. I don't have any of the others. And I think I'd like to get the Magic Cottage one. That is the most recent release. Yeah, I feel like that I would be interested in that. But I don't know. I love this one. That is the White Hare Wisdom Oracle. Alright, this one I'm going to do just a quick mention of because, you know, this really is an all-year deck for me, so I don't even know what my point in was pulling it out. But Woodland Wardens. I mean, but I use it all year round, but I think a lot of people, like, pull this one out this time of year too, because the artwork really just, it has that really good fall-winter cozy energy, so we're not going to even take that one out. But just know it's there. Next, the Wildwood Tarot. This one, it's a wintertime deck for me. Just, that's how it works. I don't know. I think it's the coloring of the deck. The fact that, I don't know, I tend to just move a little bit slower with this deck. It's one that I really, really use heavily for any sort of spiritual work in the wintertime. That's just entirely how it has grown to function for me. Look at that beautiful wintry card though. And something about the Will Worthington art also, it's just, I don't know, it has really slotted into the wintertime for me. Even the animal and plant oracles, which usually I use animal and plant oracles more so in the spring and summer, especially plant. But those ones, they're winter decks for me. So I'm really excited to have these out again, because especially this tarot is such a forever favorite for me. I just love everything going on with this deck, truly. I think it's fantastic. I did the walk through the Wildwood last year, which was so awesome, and really just helped me connect even more with this deck. I just think it's fantastic. So, the Wildwood Tarot. And we've got one more. Although, I'm kind of thinking, I feel like the Green Witch could have come into this as well. So, gosh, now I'm having thoughts of like, ooh, I need to pull these other ones out. So know that the Green Witch is probably coming out. I feel like that makes sense in my brain. But the last one I have to show here today is the Wisdom of the KOK Oracle, which unfortunately currently is not available to buy, but it seems to me like, so you have to find the Wisdom of the KOK Facebook page. That's really where the social media that this creator uses. And it seems to me like she does a print run once a year. So I would definitely recommend following that page and seeking that information out there. But of course we got the Wisdom of the KOK, so this is when she's coming to the forefront. She is the bringer of winter, the crone, goddess of ancestor and wisdom, and I really enjoy working with her. And I think this deck, it's just perfect to do that, of course. And it has the perfect winter feel. This is one that really gets a lot of heavy use for the whole darker half of the year. I just love it so much. The artwork is gorgeous. I did trim my copy. I couldn't tell you what it looked like before. I don't really remember. Maybe it had like small white borders. I don't remember. But I trimmed mine and I'm pleased with how it turned out. I think I took the borders off. I don't really know what exactly. I think they were thin white ones, which usually I'm a fan of borders, but I think with this one I just really liked having the full artwork. I don't know, but I love this one. It's a longtime favorite for me. Highly recommend, if you don't have it, following that page to stay up to date with any sort of printings. But that, my friends, is the last deck I have to show you today. Let me know what you're excited to start using this time of year. Have you already decorated if you're someone who decorates? That's what I'm about to go do, and I'm very excited about it. But other than that, I hope you're all having a wonderful start to the weekend, and I'll see you again very soon.